Hello, my beautiful angel loves. Welcome back to another episode of the True Tori podcast. So if you're new here, we talk all about embodiment, energetics, spiritual journey, spiritual awakening, spiritual shit, witchy shit, self-development. We just really dive fucking deep. So if you're on a personal, my dog is snoring in the background as usual, but it's better than barking. If you're on a spiritual journey, if you're on a self-development journey, if you're looking to get into it, this is the place for you. We talk about everything. We go so fucking deep. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be here. And welcome. On today's episode, we're going to talk about feminine and masculine energy, but kind of in a roundabout way. So I'll just kind of unfold with a story. I love telling stories. So I saw something on Instagram. Actually, let me pull it up and read it to you. So I saw something on Instagram that said, it was talking about a relationship dynamic, and I was intrigued by it, and I kind of talked about it on my stories a little bit, and then I was like, ooh, let's have a podcast on this. So the quote, or whatever it was, the post said, when two givers indulge in a connection, it's like magic. It's alchemy. I water you, you water me. We never drain each other. We just grow. So I said, I don't really believe people are givers and takers, air quotes. I think it all depends on the dynamic. You can't generalize givers and takers because in a different dynamic, they may switch roles. I believe it is more of a feminine versus masculine energy inside of the dynamic, which isn't gender specific. It's about the energy. Givers, quote unquote, could mean masculine energy of doing all the time, or it could be perceived as feminine and nurturing and loving, which is giving of themselves energetically in a different way. It really depends on how the dynamic is being perceived. This really sparked my interest, my attention and insight, so I'm gonna do a podcast and dive deep. And lo and behold, less than a week later, I switched up my whole podcast schedule so that I could record this because it was just on my mind. So let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube, or even like if you want to leave a review on whatever podcasting app you're on. Like, let me know what your thoughts are on this, because I'm really intrigued by it. I'm really interested, and I think that a lot of times society has these standards of, like, relationship, not standards, like preconceived notions of what a relationship is. And I feel like as I grew up, I heard constantly, like, I'm a giver and he's a taker. I'm a giver and you're a taker. Like, I heard those words. And so when I saw that post on Instagram, it was almost like right away I had something to say about it, because I had experience, like, it was almost like I realized the experience of what I had heard growing up, and now my insight to it without any real... Well, actually, there was kind of some programming behind it, because I believed in the giver and taker thing. I haven't thought about it in years, but it was a way for me to just quickly shift an old programming pattern that I wasn't super attached to at all in any of the senses. So that was like a win. That was really nice to just shift out of something super quickly, even though, like, I didn't really believe in it, which was awesome. Obviously, when you believe in something and it's like actually a limiting belief and an old programming pattern, it's much harder to break. But it was a really cool process to just see, oh, that's interesting. I don't really believe that. Here's what I think. And so that's, enter this podcast episode where I can talk about my thoughts on it. And so yeah, I just don't think that it's that general. Like, I don't think that you're just a giver or you're just a taker, because you've heard, have you ever seen, or even just yourself, have you ever been in a relationship where you're the giver, and then have you ever been in another relationship where you're the taker? Like, it's all about, I think it's all about the feminine and masculine energy, but also like if the energies are aligned. And let me expand on that. So if the energy is, I'm talking about like a dominant, what word am I trying to use? Like the dominance dynamic. So I believe that you can have a balanced relationship in the sense where no one's dominant. It's just we're at the same level of power in the relationship. And that comes from really communicating a lot, right? So I have been in a relationship before where I had the upper, have you ever heard this? Oh, they have the upper hand. I had the upper hand. I knew it. I was still the giver in terms of doing stuff for the person, because that's just kind of like my love language. I'm a Leo. I love to give gifts. I love to serve people, provide for people, make you feel comfortable, safe, give you experiences. Like, giving is my love language. So although I was giving to this person still, and giving like energetically, physically, emotionally, materially, all of that stuff, I fucking love it. And so even though I was the giver, right? I was the giver. I was also the one with the upper hand and the dominance in the relationship, meaning I became toxic in that relationship because I knew I had the upper hand, and because I knew that it was only going to end if I said it was going to end. And so lo and behold, I was the one who wanted to end it later on. But I knew, not that I knew I could get whatever I wanted. I don't know. I just knew that I had the control, I guess. I think the person was a little bit way too codependent on my love, and way too attached. And I eventually, it got toxic because it reached the point of completion, and we didn't acknowledge the completion. And so it went on for probably about a year and a half longer than it should have. And those are because of attachment patterns, right? So I just did a YouTube video on this earlier in the week. It's on my YouTube channel on Monday. It was about energetic drainage versus the completion of a cycle, and how to tell the difference. Am I just drained, or am I truly out of alignment? So I went over all of that. I riffed on it. I hashed it out. I gave you some steps and some best practices, if you want to check it out. But yeah, we didn't acknowledge the completion. I knew it deep in my heart and soul, and my body and my mental health suffered because I did not acknowledge it. But it was all a part of my journey, right? I mean, I don't think I needed to go through the turmoil that I did. I don't think it was necessary, but in hindsight, it was a part of my journey. So I'm grateful for it, right? Because there was a lot of mental health issues that came from that whole situation, and not because of the person, not because of the dynamic, not because of the relationship. Absolutely not. it was because I was not honoring my truth, and my body and my soul was literally imploding because of it. That makes sense. So yeah, so you can be dominant, you can have the upper hand in a relationship, you can still be the giver. And in that relationship, I was in the masculine energy, right? So I was giving, which was kind of feminine, right? Nurturing, loving the person. I was in the masculine energy because I knew I had more of the control. I mean, I didn't really exercise it. I just kind of knew I had it. And then I was also the giver. So there's a lot of dualities there, right? There's a lot of conflicting things there. But it's all about the dynamic. It's all about the relationship. It's all about you and your energy and the energy you're bringing into it and all of the shit you guys have been through together, and the dynamic shifts, right? Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give you that example because it's not just giver and taker. It's not just feminine and masculine. You can have a combination of all of them. But the dynamic shifts. So have you ever heard someone say, like, I'm strong when you're not, and you're strong when I'm not, or like you're my rock, or that stuff? Like, that's the energy shifting, right? So think about when you're going through something that's hard and your partner is there for you and they're your rock. Say you're the man and you're dating a woman or you're married to a woman. And the only reason I'm using these gender specific examples is because it's just easier to grasp the energy behind it, but it's really not gender specific. It's about the energy, but just for argument's sake, I'm going to use man and woman just so that I can show the dynamic shifting, if that makes sense. So if you're the man and you're going through something that's hard and your woman is there for you and she's there for you to lean on and she's your rock, so to speak, that's her stepping into her masculine energy and literally holding space for you. So masculine energy is all about holding. It's all about structure. It holds space for the feminine, the emotions from the feminine, the emotional flow to happen, right? So, and the creativity, like feminine is all flow, creativity, emotions. Like it's, if I had to say, it's more of like the feminine is like a water sign because of the flow and the emotional and the nurturing and the loving, and then the masculine is more of like an earth sign because it's grounded, it's structured, it has control, it holds space. And so if she's stepping into the masculine energy and you're stepping into the feminine energy by needing that you're wanting that nurturing, that loving, you're wanting to be held, and she is holding that space for you, there's the dynamic shift right there, right? And that can shift as well with the other partner. Now she goes through turmoil and it's the same thing. So the issue happens when it's feminine or masculine. Again, not gender specific. I'm not talking about lesbians or gay men. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the energy. So if you have a masculine couple, like a couple, and both are masculine energy, I could even talk about this as, it could be lesbians, it could be gay people, it could be a man and a hetero couple, it could be anybody, okay? If you have masculine, you're gonna clash. If you have feminine, you're gonna clash. It's gonna be, if you have feminine, it's gonna be chaotic because there's no structure, and you're both gonna crave the structure, and then you're gonna resent each other for one person not holding structure. Does that make sense? Like, and then if it's masculine, a lot of times like toxic masculinity is where there's huge egos involved. And so the control and the ego and the power dynamic, like that's what your issue is going to be there. In a very general sense, like I'm not going to name every single issue you could have, but just so that you understand the concepts here. And so that is real, like it's a constant shifting dynamic. Like think about Tetris. Like you have to just rotate the pieces and like the whole thing can shift and change, and the dynamic is just depends on the circumstance, the energy, how aware and conscious you are of your own energy, your communication, your trauma patterns, your limiting beliefs, like your programming, societal programming. Like, there's so much shit that comes into this, like, example. There's so much shit that comes into how these things play out, and it's constantly changing because of the time. So what I want to go into here is I just want to tell you that you can shift your relationship at any time. And I heard this on Gala Darling's podcast the other day, and I was like, holy shit, like this makes so much sense. She was saying that and I've heard this before, but I'm going to give her the credit because it's like what kind of sparked it back into my mind. You can change the energy at any time, because you need to not look to your partner to create an experience for you. So, I might be ruffling some feathers with that one, but other people are not responsible for your experiences. You are responsible for your experiences, and I'm going to tell you why. Because our experiences, circumstances, things that happen in our lives, they are only what we make them mean. What we make them mean. So I'm going to give you a really simple example. If you are having a great night out, it's one of those nights where like everybody is just in the vibes. It's like the perfect night. You never want it to end, but it's just like so amazing. Maybe you go out with friends and you're dancing and you're laughing, and no riffraff happens at wherever you are, the party, the bar, the restaurant, whatever it is. No riffraff happens. No issues. No confrontations. No like bad situations. No weird vibes. Just like a perfect night that just unfolds. And I know that a lot of people have experienced this. I know I've experienced this, and it's so fucking amazing. And honestly, it's because every single person is on the vibe that night, right? Every single person is like in alignment with each other's energy, and you're just bouncing off of each other and feeding off of each other's energy, and that's what continues the night to unfold the way it does. And so you could have the same circumstances, same bar, same people, same drinks, same outfit, same whatever. And it could be completely different. If you're in a bad mood, if you just had a fight with one of your friends, if you're just not feeling it, if someone comes into the bar with weird energy and it affects you. So the same circumstances can mean a horrible night, right? If you make it mean that. Same thing with a relationship. So another really simple example that I think a lot of people have experienced is you meet someone, you love them, you're obsessed with them, you obsessed in not like a stalker, dangerous way, but like infatuated, and they're all you can think about, and you know, like they text you and you get butterflies, they call you and you get butterflies, you see them and your freaking heart is jumping out of your chest, and you like you every like fiber of your being is just like lit on fire by this person, lit on fire by this experience. And then something happens, right? Maybe they cheat on you. Trigger warning. Maybe they do something mean. Maybe they say something mean. Maybe they wear something weird that you don't like, like jorts. Maybe something happens. Maybe they hit up your friend and you think so differently of them now because you're like, wow, bro, wow. Anything could happen, right? Anything could happen. But now the energy towards that person has shifted. Now maybe you feel, or sometimes nothing happens at all. You break up and then years later you think of that person, and because you're so disconnected from like the energy of that connection, you're like, ew. You know what I mean? Like when you're just like, ew, why did I do that? And it has nothing to do with the looks. It has nothing to do with the, like, it's more just like you're so not aligned with it anymore. And it's just like, ew. So when you feel that way, it's because you made it mean something both times. Right? So now you have no connection to the person. You have no connection to the circumstances, when you liked each other, whatever it is, you have no connection to it. And now it's just like, it's nothing. Sometimes it's just nothing. Sometimes you're indifferent to it. And it's just like, wow, I just feel nothing. Sometimes it's a little bit more charged and it's like, ew, like I'm like irritated to the fiber of my core, to the like the core of my being. And but you made them, it's the same person, right? Same person, same meat suit, same brain, same soul, same eyes. Different meaning, different vibes, different energy, right? So why is it so different? Why is the feeling so different? And I know I'm like kind of bringing it home here, but I want you to understand that you have the power. We all have the power. We all have the power to determine how we experience things. We have personal power, not circumstantial power. We give our power up to circumstances a lot of the time, but you can stand in your personal power whenever you decide to. It's up to you. And so when you realize that the person was glorious and butterflies and flowers and literal heart throbbing out of your chest, cartoon eyes with the hearts moment, because you put that meaning on them for you. They didn't do anything. Maybe they got you flowers, maybe they did this, but you know, someone you don't like could get you flowers and it could mean nothing. So again, same circumstance, different energy. You made it mean that they were the best. And now it doesn't. And now they're not. So you can do this while you're in a relationship too. A lot of times when we're in a relationship, we start to harbor resentment, right? That's a big one. We'll harbor resentment. Things happen, we don't let it go, we don't address it, we don't communicate it. Resentment. And then you start resenting them for stupid shit that they're like they're doing something, they're whatever, it could be anything. right? It could be leaving a plate in the sink. But did you ever communicate to them that you don't like that? Or that if you're craving something from a relationship, and a lot of times this works and this advice gets given when people are single, and that's great because I think it's fucking amazing to work on yourself while you're single, and I think it's really important to, and I think that it's significantly more difficult to work on yourself while you're in a committed relationship because there's a different dynamic. When you're single and you're working on yourself, it could be hard because you're lonely. I'm not saying that being single is easy. I'm saying that it's much easier to put yourself first because there's no one else involved. Does that make sense? So when you, and I want to also note that I don't think putting yourself first in a relationship is selfish. I think that that's very needed and very necessary, but I think that a lot of people don't realize it. And I think that a lot of people not only don't realize it, but they don't do it. I don't know. It's weird. We should always be putting ourselves first because we can't, it's like the oxygen mask. Like we can't pour into others if our cup is empty. And so I want to use an example of this, well, in a second. So yeah, when you're in a relationship, it's really hard to be in touch with your own energy. Sometimes it's hard to decipher the energy, like what's yours, what's theirs, what's the energy between us. And the dynamic, like you have to look at your energy if the dynamic is not serving you. Because whatever you're wanting, you can have. You can give it to yourself. That's another misconception with relationships. People get into a relationship and they think that this person is supposed to make me happy. No, they're supposed to add to your happiness. You're supposed to make you happy. I think Will Smith said that, right? Like, you're supposed to make you happy, and the other person's supposed to just be there to enjoy it with you and add to it and have experiences and share your life with them. But, like, you're supposed to make you happy. And everyone says this to, like, single people. Not everyone, but, like, people in this space, this arena that we're talking in, like the spiritual awakening, personal development arena. People tell single people, like, hey, focus on yourself. Hey, do what makes you happy. Figure out what makes you happy as a person. Be happy with that, and you're going to attract and get the love of your life or whoever's meant for you, right? But nobody tells it to people who are in relationships. It's like one of these untapped things that I feel like doesn't get talked about that often. And I just honestly, I don't hear it that often. And being in a committed relationship, like a long-term committed relationship, I went through my spiritual awakening in my relationship and did not end it, which is also really something you don't hear often because people go through spiritual awakenings, and a lot of times that tells you that your spiritual awakening and whatever you go through is a huge indication that the person you're with is usually no longer meant for you, right? Or it has come to completion, or it's not serving you, or if it's not aligned, or whatever it is. Usually there's a realization like that. But for me, I'm meant to be here still. I'm meant to stay with the person I'm with. And I know that, like, I feel that deep in my core. And so although it's extremely hard because I get triggered and because there's challenges with, you know, this like my ego and just being so aware of it and seeing the triggers and experiencing them, it's hard, but I know that it's meant to be this way. So you need to know in your heart and your soul where you're meant to be and if it feels right, not based off of like coaching, spiritual guidance, like statistics. Is that the word I'm looking for? Not really. Like the industry, because it's like, it's almost like glorified to end your relationship because of a spiritual awakening. And I feel like, and I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on this with my partner. But yeah, it's like, it's almost glorified, and I don't see an issue with you letting go of something that doesn't serve you, right? I don't see an issue with that. And I know that a spiritual awakening usually ignites that empowerment, those realizations, all of that stuff. I get that, right? But I think that there's something that confuses people coming into the spiritual space and the awakening process and all of that stuff, that like, because it's glorified to end your relationship and like be for you and all that stuff, which is, again, if it's supposed to happen for you and you feel that inside of you, great, absolutely do your thing. But it doesn't have to happen. If you're like, you don't have to break up with someone just because you're going through a spiritual awakening. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not trying to bash ending a relationship through a spiritual awakening, because I understand that logistically it usually happens because you're ascending, and usually the person you're with is like a more lower vibe, or it's toxic and you never saw it before, or you finally have the courage to stand in your power, or whatever it is. But, and that's that, right? Like, that's the compartment of like the people who go through a spiritual awakening and break up with someone for those reasons too. And then there's also the part where it's like the situation I'm in, where I know that this is actually for my growth, right? And that it's meant to ascend, and what's the word I'm looking for? It's meant to ascend and transcend with me. Does that make sense? I feel that deep within me. And so know that even if you're in a relationship, you can switch the dynamic. Like, you don't have to, by switching the energy. You have control of your energy. You have power in your experiences. Your experiences and your relationships mean what you make them mean. So, even if you're in a relationship, if you're wanting more, be that person for you. Give yourself that experience. Give yourself that experience, just like we tell single people to do. Stop putting the onus on your partner to make you happy, or to plan date nights, or to give you an experience. You don't have to give up that power. When you start to stand in the energy of what you desire, that's when the person is either going to feed off of that energy and move with you, or they're not. And then you have your answer, right? And that doesn't mean that they have to do what you want them to do. It means that if they match your energy and continue to level up with you and vibe with you, and you feel that, like you feel that vibe, then they're moving with you, they're transcending with you. If they're just still super low vibe and you're not, and you'll know that alignment's not there. You'll feel it. And so, but in the process, like, you get to enjoy yourself. You get to enjoy your relationship. You get to Give yourself the experiences, the date nights, the everything. Give it to yourself as if you're single. And enjoy it with the person you're with. If you want a date night or a surprise, give a date night or a surprise. Communicate that you like that. Don't hold it hostage and not say it. So if you want to be in your feminine energy, if you want, here's the thing. If you want your partner to step into their masculine energy, right? You have to stop taking up space in the masculine energy. Because the energy dynamic cannot hold both without conflict in a relationship. Unless both are equally balanced. Unless everyone has their masculine and feminine balance, which never happens for humans. We're never fully fucking balanced all the time, right? If you want your partner to step into the more masculine role, you have to give up the control that you're taking up in that masculine role. And I have a good example for you. I have a great example for you. This is something I think everyone can understand. And I think it may be something that a lot of you resonate with if you're a mom. If you're a mom and you're doing all the things, right? Mom, the word mom is associated with a very feminine energy, right? Nurturing, loving, caring, flowing, fun, right? The word mom is associated with feminine, and feminine means all those things I just said. If you're a mom, and you're doing all the things, you're picking up the kids from school, you're doing the dishes, you're cleaning the house, you're making the food, you're cleaning the kids' rooms, you're doing the laundry, doing all the housework, running around like a lunatic, right? You're doing all the things. And you're really just wanting your partner to help. And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with, where the woman, again, I'm talking about the woman-man dynamic, but I'm really meaning the energy. When the mom does all the things and gets upset that no one helps her, right? One, I would ask you if you're communicating that you need help. And two, I would ask you if you're shifting your energy to actually hold space for the help. To actually receive the help. So right now, because you're doing all the things, you're in your masculine energy, which masculine energy says, I got this. I can do all the things. I fucking love all the things. I fucking live for all the things. But what you're wanting is to step into your feminine, right? You're wanting to receive help. But if you're so far into your masculine, you are not going to be able to receive that help. Does that make sense? Like, you don't just have to communicate it, you have to be receptive to it. You have to open your energy and you have to shift your energy. Shift it into the feminine. Sit back, relax, allow yourself to receive. For a while, I was getting really frustrated with my partner because I was doing everything around the house and I was asking for help, but every time he tried to help me, I was doing it anyway. Or I wasn't allowing myself to receive his help in the sense where I wanted it right when I wanted it. I wanted it right now. You make a dish dirty, don't put it in the sink, clean it and put it in the dishwasher immediately. So that's when the stringent shit happens, right? Because I'm not allowing myself to receive his help at his own free will. I'm trying to control the whole situation, and in turn, I'm still heavily in the masculine energy. There is so many fucking ways these situations can go. I could riff on this for hours in terms of all of the different things, like all the times we think we're in the feminine when we're in the masculine, all the times we think we're in the masculine when we're in the feminine. It all comes down to, are you in the controlling doing, or are you in the receiving being? Are you relaxed or are you stressed? Are you chaotic or are you structured? They can all mesh together in this shitstorm of unconsciousness of our energies. And then just blaming the other person, or blaming the ex, or blaming the mom, or blaming the dad, or blaming who brought us up, or blaming our experiences, or blaming whatever the fuck it is that you want to blame because you don't want to take responsibility and stand in power with your energy and claim your personal power. Because you know what happens? Claiming your personal power is claiming responsibility for yourself. Like that Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. Same shit. Same shit. You stand in your personal power, it's now your responsibility to regulate that shit, to give yourself the experiences you want. And you can't be in your personal power if you're not taking responsibility. It's just not how it works. It's a package deal. So I'm going to end that off with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man said it best. Not Spider-Man. I think Aunt May says it in Spider-Man. But yeah, you got to stand in that power and you got to take responsibility. Is it fucking easy? No, it's fucking hard, bro. Like, it's fucking hard. But is it hard to keep spinning your wheels and getting pissed off with everyone and having a shit life and not enjoying every day of your life and just being stuck in this shitstorm of society that everyone like is always like, oh, complaining about their husband, complaining about their wife, complaining about their family. Oh, I love my family, but I love my family, but I love my family, but how often do you hear that? How often did I used to hear that constantly when I worked in the office? Constantly. Mundane, day in and day out. Like, that shit's hard. That shit's hard. Living that life is hard. I will take this conscious, aware, hard, deep work life any fucking day over that, because that shit, that fucking complacency, it horrifies me how many people will never pull themselves out of it. That's the saddest part about it. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Go take fucking responsibility for yourself and your power and your experiences. You got this. It is a work in progress. It's a journey. It's everything. It's a journey. It's development. It's always developing. It's ever unfolding. Like, that's the beauty of it. You can always get better. You can always learn more. So I hope that you take responsibility for your experiences, because you're fucking magical and you deserve to experience this life to its fullest, limitlessly, and fucking, like, experience magic. And not wait for someone else to create that for you. You get to create it now. Whether you're in a relationship or you're not. Regulate your energy, my friends, my babes. Do your deep work. I am available for one-on-one coaching and mentoring. At this time, I always will have an application open. So if you're listening to it at a different time, you can always reach out to me on Instagram at TrueTori, or go to the link and fill out the application if you're interested in mentoring and coaching. My program is all about going deep, personal development, healing, mind, body, and soul. Breaking limiting beliefs and emotional patterns and programming and the patriarchy, and really just rebelling against everything this whole fucking society has ever told us we're supposed to be. Feeling into your heart, what are you supposed to be in this lifetime per your soul, right? What lights you the fuck up? And then how do we get there? Why do you want it, and how do we get there? Because you can know what it is, but you would be crippled by the limiting beliefs, the fear, the ego. I mean, I could list things off that could hold you back for hours. So it's really about going deep, finding your what, then finding your why, then working on the how. And I'm here to support you in that. So you can fill out the application if you're interested in my high-level one-on-one coaching and mentoring. If that's not for you, I always have new programs coming out for, personal development, being more aware and conscious of your own energy. Currently, I have a Line and Flow available. It's a membership. It's a monthly membership. It's $57. We work with the energy of the moon 2 times a month, new moon and full moon, to not only come back into awareness of what energy we're experiencing right now, but also to work through and process the emotions and then shift using the power of the moon, like the charged energy that we have at that time, to make those shifts. So that is an offer that I have right now that's super affordable. Like I said, $57 a month. You get 2 calls a month, either live or recorded, depending on my energy, because I always honor my energy and I like to set that example as well. And then you get a Facebook group so that we can integrate. I can talk to you during the integration process, during the in-between of our calls. And so that one is really fucking awesome for regulating your energy, being aware of your energy, getting into this kind of work. So yeah, you can find the link in the description or in the show notes, depending on where you're watching or listening to this podcast. And if you have any questions at all, reach out to me on Instagram at TrueTori. I had so much fun having this chat with you, just riffing on all of this energetic, relationship, single, all this shit. Like, it was just so much fucking fun, and I'm really, really grateful for your energy and your time and your lovely self. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day or night, and I'll see you on the next episode. Love you so much.